Imagine waking up to find your survival stockpile gone. What's the first thing you do? This isn't a question any of us want to face, but it's a scenario that needs to be prepared for. The first step in this daunting situation is assessment. Assessing the situation is more than just a cursory glance at the damage. It's about methodically examining the extent of your loss. What has been completely destroyed or stolen? What remains? Are there any items that, despite the damage, can be salvaged or repaired? This process may be disheartening, but it's essential for understanding what you have to work with and what needs to be replaced. It's crucial to remember that during this initial assessment, you need to stay calm and composed. It's easy to be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the loss and let panic set in, but let's be honest, panic isn't going to help you rebuild. It's going to hinder your progress and cloud your judgment. Instead, take a deep breath. Understand that this is a setback, not the end. This is a time for clear thinking and rational decision-making. It's about taking one step at a time, starting with acknowledging the situation. Once you've identified what's gone and what's left, it's time to consider what could have been done differently. This isn't about blaming yourself, but about learning from what happened. Was the stockpile too centralized, making it an easy target? Was it not adequately secured or hidden? These reflections will be crucial when rebuilding your stockpile to ensure it's more resilient in the future. The initial assessment phase is also a time to consider your immediate needs. What do you need right now to survive? This could be anything from shelter, food, clean water, to basic medical supplies. Identifying these needs will not only help you prioritize your recovery efforts, but also ensure you're taking care of your immediate survival. Once you've taken stock of the situation, it's time to secure your immediate surroundings. This is the first step in the journey of rebuilding and recovery. It might seem like a mountain to climb, but remember, every journey begins with a single step. Now that you know what you're dealing with, it's time to start rebuilding. But where do you start? Well, folks, the key to rebuilding is prioritizing. It's a bit like rebuilding a house. You don't start with the roof, you start with the foundations. So, let's lay those foundations. First things first, let's talk about immediate needs. These are the absolute essentials for survival: shelter, food, and water. You need a secure place to stay, something to eat, and clean water to drink. If you're in a situation where your home is no longer safe or accessible, you'll need to find or create a new shelter. This could be anything from a tent to a makeshift shelter built from debris or natural resources. Next, you'll need food. Start with basic supplies that are easy to prepare and don't require refrigeration. Think canned goods, dried foods, and meal replacement bars. Just remember, you're not planning a 5-course meal here, you're aiming for sustenance. Water is arguably the most important survival need. You can survive for weeks without food, but only a few days without water, so clean drinkable water is a top priority. Consider options like water purification tablets or life straws if you can't access a clean water source. Once you've secured your immediate needs, it's time to think about short-term survival items. This includes things like first aid kits, fire starting tools, and multi-tools. A good first aid kit is essential for treating minor injuries and illnesses. Fire starting tools will help you cook food, boil water, and stay warm. And a multi-tool, well, it's the Swiss Army knife of survival gear. It's a compact, versatile tool that can help you with everything from opening cans to building shelters. Remember, the goal here isn't to rebuild your entire stockpile in a day. It's about prioritizing your needs and taking steps to secure the essentials first. Rome wasn't built in a day, and your stockpile won't be either. Having identified your immediate needs, it's time to plan how you'll acquire these items. Rebuilding your stockpile isn't about rushing out and buying everything you see. It requires a strategic approach. It's a game of chess, not checkers. You need to plan your moves, consider your resources, and prioritize your purchases. First and foremost, you need to create a budget-friendly plan. This is not the time to panic buy. Instead, focus on essential items first. Think about what you need for survival. Food, water, shelter, medical supplies, and basic tools should be on top of your list. Start with the basics and expand from there. Affordability is key. Look for cost-effective options that give you the most bang for your buck. For instance, consider buying in bulk. Purchasing items like rice, pasta, canned goods, and other non-perishables in large quantities can save you a significant amount of money in the long run. But don't just think about quantity. Quality matters too. You want your stockpile to last, so invest in items that are durable and have a long shelf life. Go for canned and dried foods that can last for years without spoiling. Choose tools and equipment that are sturdy and reliable. Next, let's talk about sourcing supplies. You need to find reliable sources for your survival gear and food. Local resources should be your first stop. Check out farmers markets for fresh produce, local stores for non-perishables, and hardware stores for tools and equipment. Don't overlook the power of online shopping. Many online retailers offer discounts for bulk purchases, and you can often find items that are hard to get locally. Just make sure to factor in shipping costs and delivery times into your planning. And let's not forget about community resources. Connect with other preppers in your area. They may have tips on where to find supplies or be willing to trade items. Networking can be a powerful tool in your rebuilding efforts. Remember, the goal is not just to rebuild your stockpile, but to do it in a way that is sustainable, affordable, and efficient. With a strategic approach, you can rebuild your stockpile without breaking the bank. Now let's talk about managing your new stockpile. You've started rebuilding your stockpile. Now how do you ensure you're managing it efficiently? Efficient stockpile management is more than just stacking cans in a corner. It's about creating a system that allows you to know exactly what you have, where it is, and when it expires. This way you can avoid future shortages or duplications. Imagine you're in a situation where you need a first aid kit. If you've got an inventory system, you'll know exactly where to find it. Setting up an inventory system can be as simple as a notebook and pen or as advanced as a digital spreadsheet. The key is to keep it updated. Every time you add or remove something from your stockpile, note it down. Consider categorizing your inventory based on the type of item: food, water, medical supplies, tools, and so on. This allows you to quickly assess what you have and what you're running low on. It also helps you identify any gaps in your stockpile. But what happens when you've got a solid inventory system in place and disaster strikes again? This is where proper storage comes into play. Protecting your stockpile from future damage or loss is critical. Think about the conditions that could potentially harm your stockpile. Humidity can cause cans to rust and cardboard to mold. Extreme temperatures can spoil food and damage equipment. Rodents and pests can chew through packaging. So it's essential to store your supplies in a cool, dry place away from pests and potential water damage. Invest in durable, airtight containers for your supplies. These can protect against moisture, pests, and even physical damage. And remember, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your stockpile across multiple locations if possible. This way, if one area is compromised, you'll still have access to supplies in a different location. Proper management and storage are key to preserving your stockpile. But what about the long term? Well, that's a topic we'll dive into in the next scene. Stay tuned. Building a stockpile isn't just about surviving the immediate aftermath of a disaster, it's about long-term resilience. Imagine a diverse portfolio of resources, a survival toolkit that can weather any storm. That's what we're aiming for when we talk about diversifying your stockpile. It's not enough to have a closet full of canned beans. You need a mix of food types, including dry goods, preserved foods, and seeds for gardening. A variety of tools is also crucial. From multi-tools to repair kits, every item has its place in your resilience strategy. But let's not forget about the power of knowledge. Expanding your skills, learning how to forage, fish, hunt, or grow your own food can be a lifeline when supplies run low. Remember, resilience isn't just about what you have, it's also about what you know. Now, if the thought of building a diverse stockpile feels overwhelming, you're not alone. It's a big task, but you don't have to do it by yourself. There's strength in numbers, and that's where networking comes into play. You're part of a community of preppers, each with their own unique strengths and resources. Connecting with this community can be a game changer. Sharing advice, swapping supplies, or even forming alliances for mutual aid can bolster your resilience. Plus, local communities are often untapped resources. Farmers markets, local auctions, or neighborhood tool libraries can be gold mines for affordable supplies. Remember, resilience is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about building a stockpile that can support you not just for days or weeks, but for months or even years. It's about creating a network of resources that you can rely on when the going gets tough. Building long-term resilience is key to surviving any future challenges. But what about the emotional impact of losing your stockpile? Losing your stockpile can be a devastating blow. How do you cope with the emotional impact? This is a question that many of us grapple with, and it's important to acknowledge that it's okay to feel upset, frustrated, and even scared. These are natural reactions to loss. The first step to recovery is acknowledging these emotions. It's okay to grieve for the loss of your stockpile. It represented security, preparedness, and a buffer against uncertainty. If you try to suppress these feelings, they might hinder your ability to move forward and rebuild. Next, shift your focus towards resilience. Resilience doesn't mean ignoring the hardship, but rather accepting it and finding ways to bounce back. This is where a support network can be invaluable. Reach out to fellow preppers, friends, or family who can lend a listening ear, provide practical advice, or even help you rebuild. Now, let's talk about your action plan. Start with assessing what you have left. It's easy to focus on what you've lost, but concentrating on what you still have can be a source of hope. These remaining resources are the foundation upon which you'll rebuild. Set realistic goals for your rebuilding process. This isn't a race, and you don't have to do everything at once. Break down the process into manageable milestones. Maybe this week you focus on securing a fresh water source. Next week you work on food and so forth. Remember to celebrate each achievement, no matter how small. Each step forward is a victory and a testament to your resilience. And as you progress, keep refining your plan. Learn from your past experience to build a more robust and diversified stockpile. Lastly, incorporate a long-term vision into your plan. Your ultimate goal isn't just to rebuild your stockpile, but to create a sustainable system that can withstand future challenges. This might mean diversifying your supplies, exploring different storage options, or building stronger community ties. With the right mindset and a clear plan, you can rebuild your stockpile and be prepared for whatever the future throws at you. Remember, you are not just surviving, you're thriving, and this setback is just another step on your journey.